What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. We have a fantastic week ahead of us. Some things that I wanted to talk about before we get to the man of the hour. This week, I went into a couple day long food coma. So I started off Friday night. Went to Streets on Carson, had a meal with some friends. It was fantastic as usual. So I definitely have to say Streets on Carson has absolutely delicious food. They are opening a food truck very, very soon. So if you go on Instagram and you type in Streets on the Fly, you can follow their account and you could stay up to date with the food truck. The food truck will have hoagies, wings, fries, and Chef Matt is going to be making some dope ass shit. So I suggest you follow them to, learn about when they're going to be done and pumping shit out. I also went to Ironborn this weekend. Ironborn is a new restaurant in the Strip. Technically, it's not new. They were in the Smallman Galley, and then they have a pizza takeout over in Millville, but they opened a brick and mortar. Is it called a brick and mortar? They opened a full restaurant, and Chef Ryan Peters, he was a guest on the podcast recently. He is a pasta wizard. So if Dumbledore was real into pasta, I would imagine he'd be something like Ryan Peters. But if you follow his Instagram, Chef Ryan Peters PGH, he is just like obsessed with pasta. He lives and breathes pasta, and he cooks down at Ironborn. So the thought of having a brunch Italian meal, that tickled my fancy a little bit. I never had that. I never really thought of having, pasta as a brunch dish. But we went down and we got a pizza, and it was called the brunch pie, and it was gravy, sausage, Paul Family Farms honey, and it was honestly one of the tastiest things ever. Absolutely tasty. And then we ordered a breakfast sandwich there. It was called the spicy egg sandwich. Fire, as usual. But and then Chef Ryan sent over some carbonara, which is his favorite dish, I guess. He sent it over, and that was unreal too. We absolutely had way too much food, and it all tasted unreal. And after that, we packed ourselves in with all this food. Then me and my wife went over to the Science Center. We went to that mummy exhibit, which was super crazy. So at the Science Center right now, there's an exhibit where they brought in, I don't know how many mummies, but it is legit shit. These are literal dead bodies, 3000 BC, the wildest, you're reading these descriptions and you're just like, holy shit, it is crazy. It's going on till I think mid-April, but I think it was $20. It's $20. You go in there, it takes an hour to get through. Absolutely worth it. Just to read and see the shit that you could see in there was super cool. And obviously, Saturday night was the big UFC fight. Even if no one is a UFC fan, Conor McGregor fought, and everyone turns into a UFC fan at night. It's like the fairy godmother turning into a pumpkin at midnight. Anytime Conor McGregor fights, there's a million UFC fighter fans. But it was a good fight. It ended up being a cool night. It was just an exciting weekend. I had a great weekend, and then I followed that up by being able to have a conversation with my guest this week. And my guest this week is Dean Bog. Dean Bog, or Dean Bogdanovich, he is a local filmmaker, originally from New Jersey, who moved over here, fell in love with the city, and he used to put out YouTube videos that were just like, kind of random, kind of had a similar theme, but he has recently taken focus on our neighborhoods of the city. And in the neighborhoods, he spends a week in each neighborhood gathering footage and learning about that and living in there and really doing some, boots on the ground research. And he does it in a fantastic way. And at the end of the week, he cuts that all down into a snackable 15-minute video on YouTube, which I highly suggest that everyone watches. Even if you've lived in this city your entire life, you will learn things that you do not know about the city from Dean's videos. And he does them in a way that are so unique and just fun. It's fun to watch him teach you about a place that you've lived next to for 30 years that you've never been to, which is the Run. I've never been to the Run. I took Dean home, and I then drove through the Run, and I was like, you know what, dude? I've lived here 30 years. I don't think I've ever driven down here. And it was pretty wild. But Dean's videos are fantastic, and meeting him was such an awesome experience. So without further ado, episode 102 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Dean Bogg.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast.
You know Buzzy? Is that with Epicast?
Yeah, Buzzy was I started a podcast 5 years ago, and Buzzy was our producer. We were one of the first ones in his whenever he first started that Work Hard Pittsburgh up there. We saw it whenever it first opened. It was wild, and now he's just killing it.
He knows what he's doing when it comes to sound, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean,
so he started Work Hard Pittsburgh.
Well, he was one of
the first.
He was one of the original in there. Work Hard is a collective, and the whole. I mean, they have a bunch of different people that are. I don't know if you would call them investors, but I guess they're part owners. I don't really know the terminology.
Is it a co-working space or no?
Yeah. So people, I guess, buy into it and they get to just use it as a working space. There's the offices upstairs. There's the studio space downstairs. But
it's like a co-working space, but it's a bit more of an investment to get into it. I have a fantasy of doing a similar type of thing.
I don't know if it's. I don't know what the deal is as far as how you get access to it. But I mean, I'm not. I don't have any money into it. But I go there. People go there. You could rent that out and go work there. But Buzzy is a fantastic guy. He's the only reason that I do all this. He taught me how to do this in the beginning. And he was definitely the pod father in the beginning in Pittsburgh.
The pod father?
Yeah, it's pretty wild, dude,
nice.
To see how far he's came and what he does. The dude has been a sound wizard forever. Back from whenever it was band, like music, heavier music, to what he does producing now. And they have some big shit going on there.
Yeah.
It's a cool area. All that Allentown stuff up there is pretty interesting. But you say you're from New Jersey?
Yes.
And can I ask how old you are?
I'm 24.
Okay. And you're from New Jersey. So I obviously saw that in your video, but when did you come to Pittsburgh?
So I came to Pittsburgh to go to Pitt.
Yeah.
And my mom and I came out here on the gloomiest, most bitter cold February day.
Yeah.
And we were both oh, all right. This is the place.
You both loved it?
It was pretty instant, yeah.
And how long ago was this?
This was in probably 2014 or 2013, maybe. So 6 or 7 years ago. I guess 7 years ago this February.
Now, in New Jersey, what kind of area did you live in? Was it
The burbs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't fist pumping on the beach?
No.
Okay.
No. It was the towns around me were very ritzy.
Okay.
Lot of money, like some of the wealthiest towns in the country. My town was not that. It was middle class, a big commuter town.
Yeah.
You get on NJ Transit and you go into the city, and you work for 8 hours and you return. And I tried that for a summer, and I was utterly miserable. And I was like, like you said about your commute earlier when we were talking, it was like a wake up call of like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Like, I need to change this. So that was actually the impetus for me to go and pick up a camera.
Yeah. Now, did you guys have any stake in Pittsburgh before you came here?
No, none. I had just my cousin had come out to visit it, and he spoke very highly of it. I knew nothing about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was like I grew up kind of in the bubble in the suburbs, and I didn't know anything about anywhere.
Well, like you, from an outsider's point of view, like the only thing I know of you, my first experience of you was I saw Cody Baker. You know who that is?
I do not. Well, he does.
He does like the creatives drink. Like
Okay.
he's an organizer in the city. He's doing a lot of great things in the city as well. He organizes.
I've certainly heard of creatives drink.
Yeah, like he organizes all of those, but I saw him post one of your videos, and I watched one of the videos with my wife while we were here, and I was like, I think it was the South Side one, and I was like, holy shit, like this is crazy. And and I think it's so interesting to me because I've been like reevaluating my life a lot in the past couple months, and all the choices that I've made. And whenever I was younger, I never paid attention to anything in the world. I was oblivious. I was just serving time anywhere I was. I never learned anything really. You know, like I'm obviously like I've learned things, but I've never paid attention. I've never learned knowledge from like the city. And I watched one of your videos and like I learned more things, and I've lived here my entire life. And you do it, you portray it in such a way that's such like it's a snackable size for people to consume very easily. And you do it in such a way that is, it's appealing to anyone, I feel. Like it could be an older person. It could be a person that, you know, some stoner that's just like sitting in an attic. And I don't know. And I was thinking about this beforehand, and I know this is a lot to just throw at you at one time, but that was my first experience of it all. So I obviously ripped through all the rest of the videos, and I was like, holy shit, like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. I like snackable.
Snackable, yeah.
That's a good word for them, and I think I don't think of them... They are episodic.
Yes.
But I think of it more as one continuous work, and I think releasing them weekly, it's sort of like it's a year-long thing or a 6-month-long thing or whatever, however long it's going to be.
Yeah.
But releasing them weekly allows me to kind of package the experiences into these little, you know, bite-sized videos that are fun to watch. And to your points about kind of my perspective, I think that I certainly don't always see the world like as magically as it appears I do.
Yeah.
But when I am creating a video, I usually feel pretty good. And I think when I'm creating something, I am at my happiest. I am at my most attentive, my most aware. I'm out in the world. I'm communicating with people. So, and that's all you see is when I am filming. And there are plenty of days when I do, you know, feel like shit and I don't want to talk to anybody and I'm not intrigued by the little old lady that's telling me about the history of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But I think the reason that like my perspective or that the perspective in the videos seems so magical and you know, it looks like I'm looking at the world through, what is the phrase? Looking at the world through rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, I think it feels that way because when I'm filming, I'm feeling pretty damn good for the most part.
That makes a lot of sense. It definitely makes sense. You know, your videos definitely my biggest take from them is the authenticity of it. It's like they feel very authentic to the point where it just feels like that you're someone that you take each neighborhood that you are researching, and it feels like you really like dive into it, like that you really fucking just like sink into it all, and you're living there for that moment in time, whether it be hours, day of work, or whatever it is. But it just feels like that you really like the guy who owns the German club, who is going to have a Jorg. Okay. Like
Jorg Gerlach.
You know what I mean? Like whenever I watch these videos, I'm like, how the hell did this dude meet up with this guy? But that guy, you know, I want to talk to him. Like, I just want to support what that guy's doing. And I feel
Jorg
like
is doing some. Yeah, Jorg is like
interesting
the coolest
things.
person I've ever met.
When you had him in that video, I was like, you know, these are the people that like we have in our city that like, you know, probably no one ever knows of that guy.
Nobody knows about. I saw him like 10 minutes before I met up with him, and I was like, whoa, who is that guy? And then he pulled up in
that big dump truck.
1973 dump truck, and I was like, oh, sick. You're the guy that I'm meeting up with. So let's see. What was your first? I had a thought on what you were talking about before we got into Jorg.
I was saying the authenticity.
Okay, yeah. So, when I film these things, I really do like live in the neighborhood for the week, and I talk to people, and it's nice because on Monday I'll go and I'll meet a bunch of people, and then I'll continue to see those people throughout the week, and I really love that, and I it's fun to be able to walk down the street and say, oh, hey, what's up? Whoever, you know,
Yeah.
and that makes me feel like I am a part of the neighborhood. And by the end, it always feels like, yeah, it's like I'm moving out in a way. Like come Friday, it's like, oh, I'm getting my last shots. Like this sucks, especially if it's a neighborhood that's not close to where I live. You know, I might not go back there. I might not go back, or I will go back there, but I might not go back for another month, and I certainly won't be there every day. So
absolutely.
And I do fall in love with a lot of these neighborhoods, and it's like, fuck, should I see if there's can I buy a house here? Like, do I move here? Where do I go? And it's kind of bittersweet. And my favorite thing to do when I got a bicycle, when I first got a bicycle and I first started venturing outside of Oakland, was just biking around and just being enamored at Pittsburgh and just being. I would think, oh, I've seen Squirrel Hill, I've seen Shady Side, I've seen South Side. There's really no more neighborhoods. And every time I would go out to a new neighborhood, and just my jaw would hit the floor, and I think this place fucking rocks.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How did I not know this is here? How have I been living in Pittsburgh? And it just that happened over and over again. So neighborhoods is kind of just me trying to relive that, and the places that I'm familiar with, I have to kind of get back into that headspace of the first time I was there.
And it's interesting to me because you're not from the city, so
yeah, I think that's part of it.
I think that like I would have never been able to tell, you know, like I can't remember if you brought that up in a video or how I even came across that bit of information, but I was like, you know, it's crazy because like this dude is not from here, but like, you know, it's so easy for you to dive in and like just completely like get your hands dirty and like kind of just get in there and do everything. And that's basically why I started the podcast. You know, I mean, like my goal for this podcast this is just my way of being able to learn and further my interest without having to lose, you know, my job. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, I mean, I'm interested in things that I've always been interested in, funeral directing, things like that. So me being able to just like talk to someone, I could hit them up and be like, yo, I'd love to talk to you about like, you know, your job, your career, and kind of learn all of I can in a, you know, hour and a half long conversation. Because when are you able to walk up to someone in the wild and just sit there and be like, hey, let me talk to you about funeral directing for an hour and a half and people not think you're a lunatic?
I did a video for a funeral director or like a funeral service, funeral home.
Yeah.
Strange stuff. Especially like we were filming the ovens.
Oh,
I guess they're
yeah.
not ovens. What are they called?
The crematorium.
Yeah. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff.
It's heavy stuff. I think podcasts are so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that all of a sudden I'm someone that people want to have on their podcast, because I now I get to podcast with people.
Yeah.
Also, such a smart thing to do. Like, you just get to, it gives you an excuse to just meet whoever you want to meet. And if you're interested in something someone's doing, you now have a totally legitimate, hey, like,
this is a reason.
Yeah, I'm interested in what you're doing. Let's have a conversation. And it's productive, and other people get to also benefit from it. So I commend you for doing this. And I
appreciate
think,
it.
If anyone out there listening is thinking about starting a podcast,
why not?
fucking go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the most, to me at least, this is the most innovative form of knowledge consumption ever, because like this is, you watch TV and it's like, you have to go through different TV networks. You're going through different bosses, different people that are holding the money, and that you have to jump through their hoops and everything.
That's
like
what
a
I love
podcast,
about YouTube too.
I do whatever I want. Like, I only talk to the people that I find interesting, because I feel that if I just pick anyone, I have to be interested about it, because I feel the conversation won't go as smoothly if I'm not as interested. But now, before we get too deep into this, I do an opening segment with all my guests. It's called What's in the Cup?
What's in the cup?
What is in your cup?
I'm drinking green tea. So I, if I were on my deathbed, I would probably go with a root beer float.
That's a good pick. I was almost about to dive into it.
And that would have been way more exciting for us to make root beer floats.
100%.
But it also would have,
When's the last time you had a root beer float?
At least 2 years.
I mean,
a while.
I'm saying at least 15 for me. I don't know the last time I even seen one on a menu somewhere. A root beer float? I just saw Coca-Cola is coming out with like a pop that is a Coke float or some shit. Basically, it's just bottle. Yeah,
oh, God, that is. See, that's so disgusting. But I would totally.
Oh yeah.
If I was at like a gas station on a road trip,
100% it tastes good.
I'm getting me a Coke float in a bottle. But yeah, so we went with the healthy option.
This is good though. I'm usually not a tea guy. I mean, I drink cold tea.
I drink a lot of coffee, and anytime I can drink tea, it's definitely better.
Remind me to give you a bag of coffee before you leave.
Oh,
Don't let me forget.
All right.
But before, so like obviously, you mentioned, I'm finally happy to be someone who gets invited to podcasts. So let's kind of circle about on that. Now, obviously, you're not from Pittsburgh. I want to know what you were like before you became this guy that the mayor is tweeting about, because obviously I didn't know who you were. I see you because like you're catching on fire with these insane videos that you're doing. I want to know what you were like as like a kid.
Okay.
Were you always a camera guy?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
I will say that I think I've been this person that I am now.
Yeah.
For the past few years. Yeah. Like
okay.
I had been in love with video and filmmaking for the past few years.
Yeah. But you weren't making like stop animation with action figures when you were...
No, I was...
That's what I could have guessed. I would have guessed that.
Yeah, and I admire the people that are like that just know so deeply in their gut that this is what they want to do when they're 8 years old.
Yeah.
But I think that's so rare, and I think you can figure out exactly what you want to do. I think it can kind of hit you at any time in life.
Any time in the world.
So I feel extremely lucky that, I was, I guess, 21 or 22 when I figured out this is what I wanted to do. That being said, it wasn't like this flash moment, but I had to like really dig into my gut and figure out what was it that I wanted to pursue. And then once the more and more I dug, it became clearer and clearer that this is what I want to pursue, and I'm on the right path. But growing up, I mean, I think part of the reason I'm so in love with Pittsburgh is because I'm so excited to have a place that feels like home, that I'm really proud to call home, because the town that I came from, and maybe this is just how people often feel about their hometowns, was just really bland and banal, if I'm saying that correctly, banal, B-A-N-A.
I ain't going to pretend to know how to say it.
My parents are both artists, and they are
okay.
brilliant
What mediums?
people, artists, parents. But my town was not very exciting. My mother is, I mean, she's so many things, but I guess an illustrator.
Okay.
First and foremost, but also a storyteller, and she creates these little, she's a sculptor, and she makes these little figures, and she does a lot of children's books.
That's awesome.
So an illustrator, but also an interior designer, just an artist.
Yeah,
and
all around.
Yeah, and my dad is a painter.
That's awesome too.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you've been in it. You've had that mindset around you your whole life.
Yes, I've had. Well, yes and no. As a kid, I definitely did not consider myself an artist at all.
No. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying
Yes.
you were around people that were.
Yes. So I was, and I think that's why I have a knack for video, especially just visually.
Yeah.
A knack, like a deep feeling in my gut of this is beautiful or this is not beautiful.
Yeah.
And not every shot needs to be cinematic and glorious, but
No.
I do feel that I have a knack for it, and I
would agree with that. Honestly, from your videos, I would have guessed that you have a long resume of things that you've done, because they look great. And I mean, like, I'm not just like blowing smoke up your ass. It's just they're genuinely like fun to watch. And as I was saying before, like, you know, I never paid attention to things whenever I was younger, like watching like history class. I never gave a shit. I was just serving time and playing football. And, you know, like, I feel that a lot of it, of me not paying attention, was, you know, stuff didn't appeal to me the right way. But we're in this like weird age of like, you know, knowledge and like learning and everything. And you have the wildest types of people. They all have podcasts. They're all listening to Joe Rogan. People are getting into conspiracy theories again. It's like we're in this age of just information that we have a computer at our hands at all times.
Yes, this. Oh God, I could get so.
I feel
out
like
there with talk about reality, and also like I think now is always like the most fascinating time to be alive. But if you look at the book of humanity,
yeah,
it's like relatively similar for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pages, right? You're reading this fat book.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, they're in the woods. Okay, they're in the woods. Okay, they're in the woods. Oh, and then all of a sudden on page 4,999 of a 5,000 or whatever, you have just like this explosion. And that's where we are.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
You could argue it's the apocalypse because
you could,
but it is a weird time to be a human being.
Yeah. I feel like we're living in a world that's like there's crazy winds going on around us, and, you know, we can get blown off course, but we could also kind of harness those winds and use them to, you know, excel and to just, you know, go along. It all depends on the people's mindset of things. But
currently we're doing a terrible job.
I mean, who says?
You
mean me and you, or
no,
us in general?
Like humanity.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy out there for sure.
Yeah,
that's why also podcasts I feel are great, because like there's so many, there's such a saturation. You could pick and choose and get as picky and choosy as you'd like. You know, if people don't want to listen to me talk about this, they could listen to the 75 other podcasts that are out there that are kind of talking about, you know, somewhat similar things, but you know, this gives us our freedom. But anyway, wait. Now back into you being a kid. Like, what kind of shit did you do?
Okay, sure. So let's see. I suppose I was always a creative kid.
Yeah.
I was a jock.
Were you? Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
football, baseball, basketball.
Let me ask you something, because I never post, you know, I never give previews of who I'm talking to, but obviously you're a hot commodity in the city. And I posted that,
unbeknownst to me,
you know, asked Dean Bogg a question, and I've got an insane amount of questions. And honestly, I woke up this morning and I was like, holy shit. And I was kind of blown away, but I got 3 pages. But someone said you should ask him about baseball. He used to be very, very good.
Yes. Wait, I wonder if that was someone that knew me growing up.
I'm sure. I have his name down. Who would you have to guess it would be? His name is Jack.
Gallardi?
Yep. Jack Gallardi.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Funny.
So you were into football and baseball and basketball and all that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Baseball was a deep love of mine.
Really? Till what age?
18.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I wanted to play college baseball. I didn't quite throw hard enough. I probably could have gone and played at a D3 school.
Yeah.
I definitely could have played at a D3 school, but I didn't want to go to a small school. I was coming from a small town. I wanted to go to a big school.
Yeah.
And if the option was go play baseball in the middle of nowhere or come to Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
I chose to come to Pittsburgh.
I like
And I
that.
was nowhere good enough to play. Yeah, me too. I was nowhere good enough to play for Pitt.
That's awesome,
But
though.
yeah, and I think filmmaking, especially what I do, running around the neighborhoods, is very physical. How am I doing on the mic here?
Yeah, lift that up just a tad.
It's
perfect.
very physically demanding.
Yeah.
I don't have a car, so I'm biking everywhere. So
Yeah, I had no idea
Yeah.
this.
So I'm exhausted by the time I get there, and then the backpack I carry is, if I'm loaded up,
Got to be 40 pounds.
yeah,
Easy.
yeah, I've weighed it.
40 pounds?
When it's fully loaded, 42 pounds.
Wow, I was pretty
And
dead
when
on.
it on my, like, if I've already gotten the drone footage and I've already gotten the blah blah blah, I can get it down to like 20 or 25. But
Wow.
it's a big honker of a backpack, and I don't mind carrying it around. But
For you,
I think, like, if you want to do anything in life, exercise is always a good place to start.
Absolutely.
So, and I think, like, sports certainly play into what I do now. Like, you go to the theater, like, those people are athletes. If you're running up and down a stage or running in front of a camera,
Hell yeah.
and yeah, but no, I really was not. There was a kid in my high school that I was always, I don't want to say jealous of, because I really liked him, and it wasn't like this, I can't, but it was this, I guess I admired him.
Yeah.
His name's Drew Mullins. There's probably no way he's watching this, but he made the coolest stuff
Really?
in high school. Yeah, like, everyone was just blown away by his videos. And that was like one of the first times where my gut said, hey, you can do this if you want.
Yeah.
Look at what he's creating. Those are incredible little pieces. And I knew I could do something similar. I didn't know, his stuff is probably a bit more like avant-garde now than my stuff. But that was like one of the first inclinations but I was like so up in my baseball, football, basketball, like I just wasn't even on the radar.
Yeah. What position do you play football?
Quarterback.
Really?
Yeah, I can really throw things.
Holy shit.
I was a pitcher in baseball. I played center
I'm
field.
sorry I judged you. I would have never
No,
even known
I
that you
mean-
were a crazy sports guy.
I wouldn't say crazy sports guy. Also, my high school was very small.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
whatever. We didn't win a game my senior
Yeah.
year. I was a captain of the team, didn't win a game.
yeah.
It was a shame. I'm curious about this because in high school you're saying that you had no experience in filmmaking at all. Did you?
Zero.
Zero. So, what is your thoughts in high school to, obviously people are going to college after, they're getting ready for college. Where's your mind at with that?
So in my town, it was very much go to college or you're a loser.
Yeah.
And I hate that mentality. And I think, oh my God, my college experience was just like such a waste of time. I mean, in a lot of ways it wasn't, in a lot of ways it was
Yeah.
valuable, but I didn't get anything out of the classroom. And I was just kind of going with the norm, I suppose, at that point. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And if that was the case, you went to college.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate to come from a town where that is the case. But, obviously I wish I had known, but I had no idea that I was going to want to pursue filmmaking. I had a little inkling,
Yeah.
but it was nowhere.
Just a seed back then.
Yes, it was nowhere close to the point where I was like, I don't need to go to school. I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I wish people would at least take a gap year and try to just figure yourself out. Go get a job. Go work.
1000%.
Yeah. I think the whole I just wasted, and now I'm in debt.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing. I went to Slippery Rock for a year. I had no desire
Yeah.
to be there at all.
If
Just
you're
failed
listening
out.
from high school,
Yeah.
don't feel like you have to go to college.
Yeah, I mean, but good luck.
It can be a great place to figure stuff out if you can afford that.
Yeah.
But if you're going into debt and you don't really know what you want to do, don't go to college.
No reason for it. It's interesting because back, I mean, I'm not that much older than you, but I don't remember that ever being an option. I
What?
don't remember not going to
Not
school.
going. No, yeah, it was just
Your
like
guidance counselor was like, "Where are you going to college
Right,
at? Where
right.
CCAC? That's the minimum you could do is CCAC. You got to go to a college, get a 4-year degree,
Yeah.
and get a job, get married, have kids, and die."
I think the kids that went to a community college for 2 years and then transferred to a 4-year, that's way better.
Absolutely, it is because you could at least not pay that top dollar while you're
Figuring it
Yeah,
out.
while you're figuring it out. But so, like, what were you planning on going for?
Business,
Yeah.
whatever that meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was good. I don't know. I just viewed myself as like, I went from, I was a jock, and then it was like, what do the jocks do? Oh,
Yeah,
you go,
slip
you
into
go
the
and be a
mold.
businessman.
You slip into the molds that are
Right.
easily conformable.
Right. And as like a 17-year-old kid, I didn't really have anything figured out. I had no worldly experience.
Yeah.
So I was just totally guessing and just going with the flow because it's scary to do something different.
Absolutely. And if you feel like you do something different than other people, you feel like you're doing things wrong. And you
Yes.
feel like, you're nervous. You're like, oh, these people are going to school. I'm not in school. Am I falling behind? Am I a
Yes.
piece of shit that I'm not doing this? Am I doing things wrong? But not necessarily. It's just, it's a different path.
A different path. And once I figured out I wanted to do video,
Yeah.
it was very easy to go against the grain. And
Now, are we at Pitt? Like at this point in life?
Yeah, I guess my junior year at Pitt is when it was like, oh,
Because you graduated and went to Pitt?
Yes.
Okay, so before you got this video camera, like, what are you doing at your time in Pittsburgh?
What everybody else is doing.
Just partying and chilling?
I mean, I was going to, I wasn't, a little bit, but also just being a college student.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't saying you're not.
Right.
Yeah, you're not dicking
But yeah,
around. but
just
basically you're enjoying
existing
your life.
at Pitt.
That makes sense.
Living in the, not even though I was actually I was miserable the first semester at Pitt. But that was just, I think what a lot
Coming
of people
into your own.
experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I was, taking business classes, and I ended up majoring in information science because I had a crush on this girl, and
Nice.
she was like, yeah, you should take some IS classes with me. So I was like, all right, sick.
Good
And it
enough
was-
reason.
Yeah. And it was, she actually did my schedule one year. I was like, I don't know what classes to take. And I was like, let me log in and you can just pick them. I was like, just put me in the ones you're doing. And yeah, it was easy. Like the major itself
Absolutely.
was very easy. And that's part of what I liked about it, I think, is that it was like a lighter course load.
Yeah.
But I wasn't getting anything out of it really.
And when does the camera come into play?
So I worked in it. I worked this really nice internship in New York City. That's when I was commuting.
Ah, okay.
So I was working at a branding agency called Siegel and Gale, and it's a really cool company. I don't have anything bad to say about the company, and the office was sleek and sexy, and the people that worked there were beautiful, and it was very New York City, and I was totally miserable. And I was an intern, so of course the work I'm doing is going to feel purposeless.
Yeah, menial.
Yeah. But even the people that were above me and the people that were above them, like, it didn't seem all that much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And that was scary
Bunch
because
of
I
rats
felt like
in
I
the
could
wheel.
see the next 30 years of my life like in front of me, and I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
So I had this Amazon gift card that I had won from the Pitt Mobile App Challenge, and it was like $300 or something, and I bought a little T3i, a little Canon DSLR,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, here we go, and I just started making YouTube videos, and everybody was like, holy shit.
Wow.
Where did these come from? But no, and that was like my friends. You know, I was making them for my friends for the first few years. And
when did your YouTube channel start? Like, what year? Do you remember?
Yeah, I guess. Well, what year would that have been? 2017.
Okay. So it's been going for 3 years. Two
two
and a half.
3 years. I've been making videos.
All right.
Which is not a whole lot of amount. It's not
No.
a crazy amount of time.
No, and that's why I didn't know if you had like a boneyards of like old videos you had, because like I could have swore
I wish.
I could have swore you were gonna be like, yeah, I've been making videos since middle school. We used to just fuck around, but I looked through like your like all the videos that were on there, and like I saw that, you know, it was just a couple years ago that was like the last one there, and I thought that maybe he cleared it out, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wish I could dig up some like stuff
Old
when I was
skate videos?
12. I mean, there were little things, but it was like,
But you bought this camera, and like, what was your first like group of videos?
the first couple things I did were purely visual. My friend had just gotten a motorcycle,
Yeah.
so I made like a little edit of him riding it, and I cut it to a Black Keys song. I can't remember what the song is.
That's a good one.
And you know, it was just like a little montage. I got some really good shots. Like if I were to film a car commercial today, I would fall
were happy
back on
with it.
those shots.
Was this all self-taught through like YouTube and shit like that?
Again, it kind of felt it feels very innate. Like it feels
Yeah.
very obvious. When I'm making these things, I'm very much just trying to listen to my gut.
Yeah.
And yeah, watching just a ton of stuff. I've always been obsessed with movies. I've always been obsessed with documentaries. So let's see. And then also, there were also my friend Matt and I dressed up really funky and went to the bowling alley and just made some weird music video type thing. So I don't know. They weren't the most exciting first couple of projects.
You had to cut your teeth.
Yeah.
So when did you get some sort of handle on what you wanted to do? Because I started to see like a trend of like the what was it, the Pat Bus?
Yeah. So I was trying to do I was experimenting with episodic stuff. So I guess continuing with this narrative that we have building, I did a semester in London at a little film school
Wow.
called the Derek Jarman Lab, and that was the first chunk of time where I was like, okay, is this actually what I want to do? Like, let me take these 4 months and just experiment.
Yeah.
And that was really valuable, and it was just such a glaring yes. Like this is the right thing. And it was the first year they were doing the program, so there were 6 professors and 6 students. Every class was dual taught, and it was excellent. But you know, even something of that quality doesn't trump the kind of an ability that was already in me, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I do feel that it was 99% self-taught of just trial and error and watching things and studying things. I fell madly in love with Casey Neistat for a while.
I don't know if I've ever watched a video of him.
Yeah, it's funny that like I feel like you either you know who he is, you think he's like, oh yeah, that guy on YouTube, he's kind of a jackass, or you like watch him religiously.
I'm no dogs in any fight. I just people have brought him up.
Yeah.
And I know that he's like, he's like the goat in quotes of YouTube's and shit, but I don't think I've ever watched a video from him. And it's not because I didn't like it. It's just I was never like a vlog guy.
Yeah, and I don't even necessarily like his vlogs the most. I think I'm more intrigued by his like internet films, and that's what I was inspired by, the idea that like an internet movie is kind of a genre within itself.
Yeah.
And a lot of videos on the internet are brilliant in a million ways, but I do love traditional filmmaking and I do love documentary filmmaking, so I like kind of integrating some more traditional things into the genre of YouTube or the genre of internet movie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting how big of a pool YouTube is.
Yeah, there's everything on YouTube. Have you ever watched Apator?
Nope. Apator.
It's this guy in like, I don't know where he's in. I don't know where he lives. Maybe Russia. It's Apetor. I think he's currently my favorite YouTuber. He skates around on these frozen lakes, these like really thin frozen lakes in some like Nordic country. I don't know where he is. He drinks vodka and he makes these little films, and they're the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I'll have to show you one when we're done.
Yeah, after this, I want to look at them.
It's just they're totally absurd. He's naked in a lot of them, or
Nice.
like wearing undies, but on like just sliding around on ice. Very strange, but I highly recommend watching them.
Okay.
I think, and they're blowing up. Like people are freaking out about it.
Really?
They're doing really well. So YouTube is this, amalgamation of everything.
It's weird to think that, I think of like back when MySpace was around, whenever I was in middle school, and like how big of a weird world that was, and that YouTube wasn't around at one point. It's weird to think that YouTube wasn't there less than the time that we could remember ago. We could remember a time where there was no YouTube. That's such a weird thought to me, because you could like, I had a 92 Buick LeSabre about 6 months ago. I had a shitty car. My antenna in the back right just wasn't working. I Googled 92 Buick LeSabre, and it is this old redneck in the middle of a farm with like this old Nokia. And he's like, this is what you need to do with this, pull it out and lift it. And I'm just like, holy shit, like this video
And
is
it probably worked.
Had like 8,000 views. It's been on there for about 8 years, but I mean, like, anything you want is on there. And it's weird to think that there was a period of time where we didn't have that.
Yeah, that is something I love about YouTube as well. Just the fact that you can learn how to do almost anything.
Anything.
You can learn how to do open heart surgery.
Anything you want on there.
I had a point that I'm now blanking on.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, not at all. It was very much in regards to what you were just saying. You were talking about MySpace, and then
YouTube just not being there a few years ago. And now that it is.
Yes. I wonder, as someone who very much like puts their work on YouTube at the moment, I wonder what the lifespan of YouTube is going to be, because you have certain things like MySpace that seem like they're going to be around forever, and then they're not. Or even something like
Vine.
Yeah, exactly, Vine.
What was that? 2 years? Maybe it was around 3
years,
maybe,
and a lot of people blew up.
Yeah,
on
like
Vine.
Big as hell, like huge. Crystalia and things like that. Now he's one of the biggest comedians of all time.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I don't know about of all time.
Well, not of all time. Of today.
Of today.
Yeah.
He's very popular. But yeah, so like, maybe in 10 years, YouTube won't be a thing.
Yeah, I never thought about that. What's I'm sorry I just interrupted you, but
no, not at all.
I never thought about that. Whenever you put something on YouTube, to have that thought process of it. It's like 10 years from now, it could very well not. Just 5 years could be gone.
Yeah, and I think I need to do a better job of like organizing and cataloging my own stuff. Just like, getting a proper setup for housing that and having
Yeah.
copies of everything. I think YouTube is owned by Google, and I don't think Google's going anywhere anytime soon necessarily.
World
but
will
it
probably
is-
end before they do.
Yeah, it is like a weird concept to like if you're an Instagrammer or something, do you, and I guess you can kind of always jump onto a new platform, but that would be really devastating if the next iteration of YouTube didn't allow for as much engagement as YouTube does. Like,
Yeah.
I think photographers on Instagram, like my heart goes out to them because it just doesn't do it justice. Like
Yeah,
you see
not at all.
someone's print blown up and you're like, you can be really moved by it. I can't be moved by anything on Instagram.
Yeah.
I just, and I think a lot of filmmakers would feel the same way about YouTube.
Absolutely.
Like you're making stuff that people are just going to watch on their phones. Like,
Yeah.
don't you want people to see things on the big screen? And it certainly is a downgrade in terms of like creating an experience. And I still love going to the movies and sitting in a theater.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
But I feel lucky that YouTube exists because you can really, I think you can get people to really sit with something for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
15 minutes is a lot of time.
Yes.
Is like a long piece for a YouTube, for something on YouTube. And that's something I love about it, that is a space where people are willing to give you more of your attention.
Yeah, I see people online that whenever people talk about having cable and things like that, people are like, "No, I don't have cable. Like I watch YouTube, and I don't have cable. I haven't had
Neither do
cable
I.
for 6 years." And for me, that's crazy because like I grew up as a TV person. Like
Me too.
I was always obsessed with like movies, and like that was my babysitter ever since I was in 4th grade. Come home, watch Desperado, and just like keep watching all these crazy ass movies. And I was always someone that just like always loved all the TV. And then like whenever I moved out, I was just, I mean, maybe it's not that my love of TV, went away, but my ease of accessibility to things went to different paths.
Heights. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Netflix, I have Netflix and streaming services. You don't need to have cable anymore.
Yeah.
But that's interesting to think about too. As far as like what you're saying about like photographers and their work on Instagram and everything, that Chad Udstrom from the guy who's the YouTube over in Paraguay, he was talking about that. Like he used to be a photographer. He used to concentrate on that way more. And he would post photos of like photographs that he would be very passionate about, that he would have taken, and like, that just gets like lost, and like
people just scroll right past it.
people just scroll past it, and it's like and a video or a picture he'll post that's like super bad quality or anything will do insurmountably way better than the other one. And he was explaining how he had like different feelings about that because he would put so much like time and effort into certain things, and they would just fall on blind eyes. But something else that you just as like a throwaway clip becomes like super big. You start to question yourself maybe, or the different ways that you're doing things.
Yes, and I think there's not no correlation, but there's little correlation between like traditional success in terms of views on the internet and quality. Not necessarily capital Q quality, but like people don't care if you're shooting something on a cell phone or an Ari Alexa. Like it's more so about the quality of idea or the quality of
Well, I like that.
thought
That's a good
behind
point.
something, more so than it is how many megapixels are in the image or whatever.
Yeah, because the majority of the people that are looking at it are the untrained eye.
Right. Do you know who Jack Stauber is?
I do not.
He is by far the most popular artist in Pittsburgh.
Jack Stauber.
Yes, but he's not. He doesn't market him. He's not necessarily like a Pittsburgh artist. He's
Yeah.
just an artist who's brilliant, who happens to be living in Pittsburgh. And he kind of down-reses everything he makes. He runs it through a VHS player to give it a certain look or a certain feel. He is someone who I think is like not only a brilliant illustrator and animator and musician. He's primarily a musician, I would say, or maybe just an artist. I don't know. But he is also a master of the internet and gaming the internet.
Jack Stauber.
I think let's see. Where was I going with Jack? Just he's a representation of the idea that your stuff doesn't need to look the prettiest or look the highest quality. High production value means
nothing.
Very little when it comes to internet success.
Yeah, and it's the quality of the idea more
Yes, it's more the
I like that.
quality of the idea than
if it has a little blur to it or something like
Right,
that. That's
right.
that's a cool way to think about it. Now, as you're making these videos and like you're experimenting, like, you know, episodically, like you were saying, do you have any idea of neighborhoods? Like, do you have any idea in your mind before whenever this is all happening?
No, not at all. I don't, and again, I don't think there really is an idea behind neighborhoods.
There's a feel behind it, though.
There's a feel behind it, and it's definitely a collection of like everything I've been learning to do over the past 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It's the first time where I kind of was like, all right, I feel like I've been experimenting for 3 years. I'm going to throw everything I got into this one thing. I'm going to put all my cards on the table and try to make something a bit more grand, I suppose.
I like that word, grand.
So, you know, I had learned how to interview people. I had learned how to get these really beautiful interviews from doing Port Authority stories.
That's how you learned it? Like your
by
experience?
doing it. Yeah, just like, all right, I'm just going to go sit on the bus and talk to people. And this is how they came out. And I really liked it. I really liked how the camera was I really liked getting the camera so close
Yeah,
to people's
I love that.
faces. That was unintentional. But then, you know, you watch like the Coen brothers when they shoot their movies.
Yep.
They like to shoot dialogue with the camera in between the subjects. They shoot with a wide lens and they get really close on the subject, and it gives you an intimate feel. And that's not something that maybe that's something that I kind of subconsciously picked up on or whatever. But, I had learned how to do little animations or special effects. I had learned how to...
Like doubling yourself.
Yeah, that type of thing. I had learned a little bit of how to talk to the camera and, you know, how to position myself in
You
frame.
seem so natural at it. Like that's why I'm very, very like impressed that it's only a couple years of like time and work, because you do seem very natural at it, and
that's good to hear, because I often watch them and I'm like, oh, God.
we're gonna get to that. Like I have we're gonna get to like dissecting at the end in your process, because I am interested, because any creative that puts out something are obviously able to critique it way heavier than the regular people that are watching.
Yes.
it.
Oh my God.
But now, whenever you're all these tools that are in your toolbox, per se. I mean, you say that it's not an idea, but it's a collection. But like, there is an idea of you highlighting areas instead of saying like, you know, I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to highlight people. You know, you highlight different neighborhoods, and like, where does that thought begin to sprout in your mind?
I think The Run.
The Run.
Yeah. Like being down in that neighborhood, it just has such an atmosphere to it.
Yeah.
That was probably the first place where I was like, okay, The Run is located 200 yards from South Oakland.
Yeah.
But it's got a totally different personality.
I don't know if I've ever been down there.
It's also located 200 yards from Greenfield, which has a different personality. And I think that got me thinking about the topography and the way that our topography divides the neighborhoods. And I also think that Pittsburgh is homogenizing. So 50 years ago, this idea of each neighborhood having its own, little population and different feel would have been way better. Like neighborhoods would have been way better had I been doing this 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Because you do have these collection of immigrants and people that have been living there for, at this point, a couple generations. But Pittsburgh is now homogenizing a little bit. It's not like all the Polish people live in Polish Hill.
Yeah.
It's, millennials are moving in and we kind of are scattered about throughout. So you do still have a little bit of this history of, Moranti's Grocery Grocery Moranti in South Oakland and the Italian community there. But so the idea of neighborhoods comes from a fascination with I don't want to say unique. Unique is ironically not a very descriptive word, but yes, I'll use it. The idea is just that we have all of these unique neighborhoods.
Authentic?
Sure. And they're all different in some ways. They're all similar in some ways, but there are a lot of people doing projects about the neighborhoods, and that's kind of a layup. It's kind of a layup, I suppose. It's not like very high concept. It's like, I'll make little documentaries about each neighborhood. But it was more so I'm looking for a format to put all of my to showcase all of the tools that I've acquired, I suppose, over the past few years. So the neighborhoods idea is more just like trying to give structure to what I'm doing.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's like you have all these tools. Like it's a very broad. You could be as broad as you want, but that's a certain focal point.
Yeah,
that is a common kind of heartbeat that you could build around.
And like as standalones, like I was doing videos that were just visual montages of certain areas.
Yeah.
And like I said, the Port Authority stories were just interviews. Or I would do one that was just animation. And as standalones, they're a bit more obscure. And there's not as much for people to grasp onto, I suppose. But when I put everything into one basket, it creates,
a feeling.
Yeah, a bit more of something
that's a good
somebody
point.
can dive into.
That's a good point.
And I don't think I'm like, I admire a lot of people who make like high art.
Yeah.
But I'm not someone who, I don't consider my work like to be avant-garde or anything like that. And I like making things for people, not just for like the art critics. And I don't think I could make things for the art critics. I don't think I have the talent or know-how or desire. I like making things that are digestible and are relatable. I still try to push my limits in terms of quality, but I'm not trying to be Andy Warhol.
Yeah. Your way of filming seems to be, you could definitely cut more corners, but, it doesn't seem like that you're, skimping on the hard work that you're putting in. As far as like examples that I'm thinking of is like, you have the one scene where you're riding down a hill and, you were talking about going up the hill was a beast and you had to like take the bus up the hill and it shows you putting the bike on there. And then it shows you said, but the way down was way better.
Right.
And you're flying past that camera. So obviously you had to set that camera up, go back up, ride down, stop, go back up, get your camera, get it, put it back in and ride all the way down. It's like you could find a different way to just say like, going down the hill was way faster.
Right.
But like, you go that little bit extra. And I feel like, to me, I noticed that for sure. Like I noticed like them small things, like you getting in the sidecar with the cop, like
that was so much fun.
Yeah. Like that right there, like it made me like weird inside, like fuzzy inside. I was like, that is so sick. Like that was so cool. You're like, I'm not a little kid. And
Right.
you got to go in that car and like, I just feel like that you give off like a feeling of like, almost just like, fuck it, like let's see what could happen in this area.
Yeah.
Like if you're not putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, you're gonna get no response, no authentic response that you want. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing it safe, it's gonna be safe. But
yeah, and
it's awesome.
I think along those lines, one, I think people either. So you're saying you notice those things like intention, like or you consciously notice.
I consciously notice.
I think people who aren't thinking like, whoa, he had to pick his blah 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 blah. I think they're still subconsciously enjoying the extra effort.
Oh yeah, I'm not like thinking about
right, but I think even if someone's aware of that type of thing or not, like that's how you make something good. Is you give it love. You give it the extra mile. You listen to the part of you that's saying, I should probably do it this way, as opposed to saying it'd be easier to do it that way. And I do cut plenty of corners, but but when I have an idea that requires going the extra effort,
you're not scared, and you could tell that.
I am scared. I'm afraid of a lot of these.
You're not scared of doing hard work or like putting in the extra little bit of effort.
Yes, but I wouldn't say that I'm not afraid by. I'm always afraid. I'm an anxious guy. Like I'm trying very much to like go to a place and live deeply there. Like how deep can I dive here? How can I get it? Am I really in this person's home right now?
Yeah.
Are they really telling me about their dead wife right now? Wow, this is like
the lady who cooked you a meal that was splitting
Rita.
beans?
I went back to Rita's house for dinner the other night. That is, I have not eaten meat purposefully in about 3 years.
Really?
But when Rita cooks for me, she always gives me meat, and she's always like, you gotta get your protein. So I'll like nibble on it a little bit. I'm like, oh, thanks. But to what I was saying a second ago, I am afraid of a lot of the things I do. I'm afraid, like I'm an anxious guy. So I try very hard to get past that fear of like, I could just sit in this coffee shop instead of going out and approaching strangers on the street.
Absolutely.
And some days I do fail and I just sit around and scroll through Instagram. But I'm getting better at saying, fuck that. I'm going to go really try. And once you start, it's such a snowball. And then it's like when you do have to go down the hill to set your camera up and then run back up to put your bike, and then you go and ride your bike past.
It's going to be so sick.
And at that point, like, I'm just so in it. And
like the
it's
Josh
so
Gibson
easy.
field?
Yeah.
Like that was so sick to me. Like I was watching that with my wife, and I was sitting right there, and I just kept looking around like, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this right now? And like those are small things.
That was a fun one.
Like that's small things that like that keep me, like it's almost it keeps me thinking, but it keeps me like drawed back into the whole project. Not that like I'm getting distracted or anything, but
right. But it's a 15-minute video.
Yeah, but it
we're
grounds
used to
you.
10-second.
It's like it just those interesting things like pull you back in, and you're just like, damn, like look at the work it's like you could tell that it's. Your work reflects that you're interested in what you're doing, rather than just like getting from point A to point B. You could tell that what you're doing, like you could tell that you're sitting there and you're like, this might be super cool to do. Let's try this out and like let's do this and see how it works. Like I feel like that happens with whenever I watch your stuff.
You just made me realize something about the videos, about the Neighborhood series, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to articulate it, but for a moment there I grasped onto the feeling, and it's that when I put so much attention to detail into those little segments, this is a tough one to articulate. When you get those little bursts of energy, it makes the longer, softer interviews, like, I think more, it intensifies them, and I'm acting as the wacky waving inflatable floating arm thing.
Yeah.
saying, hey, like, pay attention. Here's someone just speaking for a minute.
Wow.
And had I just presented those, you watch something like Humans of New York when they do the videos, like,
Yeah.
those stories are just gripping.
Yeah, they really are.
But I think with what I'm doing, it kind of, I serve the purpose to get people's attention.
Yeah.
And then I kind of pass it off to
I really
these
like
characters of Pittsburgh, these characters that I keep bumping into.
That's a good way to describe it, because that does feel like how it is, because it doesn't feel like, I've never once watched one of the videos and felt like that you were trying to overshadow the actual content of the neighborhood. It felt like that you were like a catalyst to keep that ball rolling, almost like what I try to do here. Like, I don't try to like overshadow. Like, yeah, I try to relate to people and I offer my thoughts and everything like that, but my job is to drive the car and keep us on the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to echo what the people in the neighborhood are saying as
Yeah.
much as possible. And that's why, Monday and Tuesday, I'm pretty much just interviewing people and saying, what's going on here? And then, what should I cover? What would you like to see?
Yeah. So you're saying that you do go in there and you kind of like vet some people and you try to like find what people are talking about?
Very much so. Yeah.
Okay.
On camera.
Yeah.
I'm looking to both get a quality interview and also, I'm looking for things to talk about, things to say. What are the challenges that are facing the neighborhood? What is not being heard by the city? Why, like, is everyone complaining about the potholes? That's probably going to be the case in every neighborhood. But
Yeah.
Are there any specific things that could use some love and attention? Who are the people that have been here forever? What doors should I knock on?
Yeah.
What bars and restaurants should I go in?
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So like and that's both a good and a bad thing, because I'm not necessarily doing traditional research where I'm, digging through newspaper articles or, Googling.
Yeah.
But I am, in a way, getting a firsthand account of what's going on. And I feel like that's how I often get the best stories. Like you were asking about Jorg,
yeah.
who's working with Echt in...
Echt, that's it.
Yeah, Mount Oliver. Echt, I think is how you say it. It's German. And there's no direct translation. It means like authentic, genuine.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
He was recommended to me by Steve Miller, I believe his name is, who owns Ace Hardware, who also gave me a stellar interview that I ended up cutting out.
Yeah.
But, that is often how I get like leads, is just going in on Monday or Tuesday, earlier in the week, and getting interviews with people. And then at the end, asking them, who do you recommend I talk to? What's going on here? What should I highlight?
Yeah, because who would know better than the people that
are living there? Yeah.
living there forever.
Yeah.
Rather than you reading about it a little bit and just coming over something that might interest you,
Right.
that might not be like the bare bones of what that certain place is all about.
Yeah, and like I don't know, when it's so hard to find, the truly, I don't want to keep using the word authentic. It's so hard to find the places that make a neighborhood special online. And a lot of the places that I'm drawn to aren't going to be what's the top Yelp review thing.
Yeah.
Like whenever I Google a neighborhood, it's like, well, there's like nothing there. And I was really impressed when Anthony Bourdain did his Parts Unknown of Pittsburgh, because they dug deep.
Yeah, people think,
Yeah.
I remember watching that and I was like, I don't know of any of this.
Yeah, so I hadn't seen that when I started Neighborhoods, but a bunch of people were like, this has major Parts Unknown vibes.
Yeah.
So, and I had seen Parts Unknown, but I had, watched most of the ones where he was abroad. But I watched his Pittsburgh episode, and I thought it was beautifully done. I think people kind of, I think there's like some controversial opinions on that. But
Ain't there always?
Yeah, I was really impressed by the quality of like boots on the ground journalism. They must have had producers here before they were filming, making phone calls, asking people
They
where
have
should
to
I go?
be, right? For any of his episodes of Parts Unknown, because he finds those people that you're talking about in every single episode.
Yes.
So there got to be people. I mean, it ain't Anthony Bourdain going out there.
No, yeah.
I mean, he is.
Probably
but like,
not.
But in the beginning, like, you know, before he gets like them 10 people to choose from, I'm sure there's 500 more that the producers are kind of filtering through.
And I don't consider myself a journalist, but I think that is a very journalistic aspect of the episodes.
Yeah.
Is just like getting a lead and following it and as far as you can, and
knowing which one to go to as well.
Yes. So like when Steve Miller from Ace Hardware gave me a list of names, it was like the police chief, the city council, the guy in charge of city council, like the borough coordinator, and then this guy that runs this thing that does this weird stuff. And I was like, okay, what's up, York? I didn't even reach out to the other people. I was like, I want to talk to that guy.
Absolutely.
That was a particular easy one because his name is Jorg Gerlach. So it's like, all right, well, this guy's pretty cool. He also invented the stem cell skin gun that was featured. It was featured on National Geographic. That's like not its biggest claim to fame. Its biggest claim to fame is that it is this revolutionary medical device that you get someone with horrible burns on their skin.
Yeah. And
you use Jorg's device to spray stem cells onto their skin, and it's saving people that are. It's not only is it saving lives, but it's saving people from having horrific scarring for the rest of their lives.
Probably pain too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's like instantaneous. It's not instantaneous, but you'll have someone that's skin is fried. And within 3 days, they have healthy skin growing again. And within a week, it looks almost back to normal.
Holy shit. And you've looked this up? Yes. Wow.
So that is like who Jorg is that's how the world knows Jorg as
that's
like
crazy.
A biomedical engineer who made the stem cell skin gun.
Jeez.
And I wanted to include just a clip from like the National Geographic video of like, this is Jorg Gerlach. And he's just like on some green screen holding the stem cell gun. And, he's got the interview. This is the stem cell gun. And, but I was like, you know what? I want to just put him as.
Yeah, I like that. That's definitely respectable.
And he was like, I don't want to talk about that. Like I brought it up and he was like, no, I'm doing this now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Mount Oliver.
That's cool. I like that. That's definitely neat.
So
how do you choose which, so obviously you, what number are you on right now? 16?
This Polish Hill will be 15.
15. Okay. So, I mean, you're obviously getting, I'm sure you're getting crazy amount of content each time you go. Cause you're spending about a week in each neighborhood.
So I haven't looked, I think I remember opening a file for one of them and I think I had 450 clips and I am assuming about, I don't know how many individual shots make it into the video. I probably have around 3 hours of footage for each episode that then becomes 15 minutes. Maybe not even that much. As I get a little bit better at them, it's a little easier to shoot what I know I need.
Yeah. I'm sure that comes in time.
So maybe it's more like 2 hours into 15 minutes.
Because that was one of the main questions that we had was like, you have so many people you talk to, I'm sure, so much information. Like, how do you decide what is, part of that heartbeat of that neighborhood? I'm sure it's just like your gut feeling. Like
it's tough.
Yeah. Because you just said that Ace Hardware, that's what made me think about this. You said the interview from Ace Hardware. So why does something like that get cut out rather than, well, first of all, why do you do it for only 15 minutes? Is just to keep to that consumable size?
So that's what I feel I can currently, like, I feel like I can, there's a level of quality that I am trying to hit. Like, if it,
no fluff or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, not no fluff, but like crafted and snackable.
Yeah.
And that's just where I'm at. So like I started with like 8 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
then
I've gotten to the point where now sometimes if there's a lot to talk about, I can push to 15 minutes. And that's like a huge accomplishment for me. And I like it's a lot to put together 15 minutes that's coherent and watchable and that it flows.
That's in a storyline.
And it's in a storyline that is like, you can somewhat follow it.
That makes sense. That's probably a beast to just whittle that all down and put it together how it needs to be.
So could they be longer? Absolutely. Could they be longer and still as enjoyable to watch? Not at the moment. Maybe sometimes, but...
Did you look that up in the beginning at all as far as like, analytics of what people watch? All. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
It was more so like... When I was thinking about Neighborhoods, it was more so, if I'm going to try to give something everything I've got, what is that going to look like? And the outcome was the first Bloomfield episode. It was like 10 minutes of engaging documentary storytelling about a neighborhood in kind of a funky YouTube-esque way.
Yeah.
In terms of that decision-making process, it's just like me staring at a computer for 25 hours thinking like, what is the best? What is the most intriguing? What is the most visually stunning?
Yeah.
A lot of it's what they're saying. That should probably be the first thing I'm considering is like, what is the message that they're conveying?
Yeah.
But as like a visual artist, and I'm also thinking about, sometimes I get an interview and the audio just like sucks, or it just for whatever reason I wasn't paying attention and like I'm not really filming their face.
Okay, yeah.
But
have you experienced that where you've done some where
I've botched one
where something that you wanted was just not up to the quality that you wanted to use and you had to cut it out?
Yeah, I mean, probably every week.
Yeah.
No specific instance jumps to the front of my mind. There are like even today I was filming in Polish Hill and my camera totally like I got this really nice clip of this couple playing pool at Gooski's.
Yeah.
And then I kept rolling as I was walking out because you never know what's going to happen. And I got like a lens attachment failure notification, so I lost the clip. So like little things like that happen all the time. And then there's also, there are times where, the mic has really bad interference or something. But if it's a 10-minute interview and I'm like off their face for a couple minutes, I just don't use.
That makes sense.
Those couple minutes, yeah.
That makes sense. Now, as far as so I know you launched your Patreon. And you have a good amount of success with that Patreon, from what I could tell. Now, I know that allows people to vote and kind of somewhat have a say in of where you're going. How do you incorporate that? Like, do you have like a death day of neighborhoods, or do you have an idea of how long you want this to be, or like? Eventually, you're going to run out of neighborhoods. I mean, obviously not right this second, but eventually.
So I definitely will not do... Well, I shouldn't say definitely. So I most likely will not do all 90 now.
Yeah.
Because I think that would just get stale.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's what I want to do. I don't have a certain number in mind. I think it's more so like when it's time type of deal.
I like that.
At the moment, I feel like I have a horse that is very alive and I'm not going to jump ship. I'm mixing my riding analogies with my horses and
I like that.
boats. But
you originally wanted to do 5 though, right?
Yeah, that was the original commitment. It was more so an internal commitment. I was like, I should just like commit so I don't actually just bail after doing 2 because I knew it was going to be a big project, and I was like, 5 would be cool. That would be enough for me to feel like it was more than just a little one-off.
Now, in that 5, where did the success start to like creep in to the point where you were like, this is a horse that is alive and well. I want to get on.
Pretty much immediately. And I
Really?
think that's because I had been like posting videos on the Pittsburgh subreddit and just pumping out YouTube videos for a while.
Yeah.
So
Because I seen them quick. Like,
yeah.
they got to me quick.
some people were already kind of watching my videos here and there or whatnot. So when I did something that was a bit more, people were aware of it pretty quickly, and it got a lot of engagement and a lot of love from people who had never seen any of my videos. So by like, the third episode, I guess I was like, okay, I've got something here. I should at least do 5 more. Got to 10 and it had grown a bit more.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll do 10 more. So that's the commitment that I've made at this point is 20.
So you got 5 more on your belt.
Yeah, and I will most likely do another 10. And by that point it will be, I don't even know, quite 16 weeks from now. So, and I like the idea of mixing things in every once in a while. Maybe an opportunity that I couldn't pass up on will come along. I'm obviously not banking on that, but
Yeah. I like the one that you just put out with the delivery robots.
So
Obviously it wasn't a neighborhood, but it still has that
it's
feel.
still Pittsburgh based, and
I had no idea that those were things.
yeah,
I did not know that. I told my
They're
wife, I was
nasty
like,
little buggers.
I was like, did you ever see one of these around? And she was like, you're telling me that those deliver food around our city?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. and I had no idea about it. They seem super inconvenient. And the girl that you interviewed,
Emily, yeah.
like that was insane to think about that.
Yeah, she was strapped on the street and the light turned on Forbes. So she's got like
She's in a
just
wheelchair.
a wave of traffic coming at her.
Yeah.
And she's like the cool as a cucumber type
Yeah.
of person. But like that is just a moment of panic of like, there's a robot that's not moving. Those things are big too. They're like
it's
40
like
pounds and they
it's
don't
like the
move
size
easily.
of a full-size cooler.
Yes.
And this girl is in a motorized wheelchair, and she was explaining that one of these big-ass cooler delivery services was blocking the curb cut that she was able to go up.
Yeah.
And, like, that's so crazy to think that that's, like, a situation that she even has to deal with.
Right. I hate those little fucking things.
Yeah,
and
like-
I bashed them. I feel like I gave it to Starship in the video, especially
Yeah.
cutting back and forth between their ad and what the reality of the bots is. But I think it's such a gimmicky. Pitt is trying to make their campus look futuristic. Like on the tours, they love to highlight, this is our autonomous robot delivery, so
They look so
you
dumb.
don't have to walk to Taco Bell.
Yeah, like,
And
I don't know.
it's just like it's a gimmick, it's like the technology is not there, but they're gonna push it out early.
It's like this fake
because
ass
it's
Jetsons.
fancy. Yeah. And it's amazing that they can do what they do.
Yeah, it's cool.
Unfathomable.
It's
that
cool.
a robot can deliver food, can navigate a sidewalk, but they fucking suck.
Yeah, like those are that blew me away that was even a thing. I had no idea, but I mean, full circle with that is like you put that video out, and like that's obviously not highlighting a neighborhood, but I still felt like I was learning, I was gaining some information about the city, and I thought that was cool too, because like I learned something from every single video you make, and it makes they're fun to me. So I feel like that I'm just some idiot that's just watching these videos. If it's fun to me,
some idiot that's making them.
Yeah, I mean, like we're all just a bunch of idiots, and like if I'm getting something from it, like I know that other people are, and like I can't help but to see how many people are posting it and how many people love it. Like I posted that question, and like crazy amount of people wanted to ask you, certain questions. And I just think that it's really, really refreshing what you're doing. Are you familiar with Rick Seaback?
Oh boy. So
I know.
No, I'm happy. I am familiar with some of his work.
Okay.
I have not watched enough. Let's see. I have some homework to do for sure.
Yeah. I'm not going to pretend I know really anything about him.
Yeah.
I know of him up to...
Well, I saw he was on
He was.
here,
He was.
which is awesome.
I appreciate that. And it was very overwhelming for me because, like, I'm not one of them dudes that was like, every day of my life, I was sitting in front of the TV watching everything you did.
Right.
I told him, I was like, I didn't watch that much Mr. Rogers. Like, I was watching, like, John Carpenter's Vampires and Flight of the Navigator and, like, movies. I was watching movies rather than WQED, but... I know that
WQED, just as a shameless plug to WQED.
WQED is the best.
They're the best.
They were posting my shit. I was pumped, but he is like, obviously, it's comparable in a certain way. It's comparable in a certain way because Rick Seaback does a way of educating the city that is less homeworky, less like school type. It's fun. He makes it fun.
Yeah.
But it's also not, there's still some sort of like PG feel to his. But you watch one of your videos and you get that, one time I got arrested smoking weed there. And like, I feel like that appeals a little bit more to, younger generations. Not saying that he doesn't.
Right. And I think that's, again, like going back to what you're saying about podcasting, like YouTube, you can do whatever you want. There's I don't have a executive producer telling me, no, you can't say this.
I love that you swear. I love that, that like you don't really, because I obviously swear too much on here, and like I just feel that gives me a more authentic feel whenever I'm watching things. Like if someone's not like constrained by all these different like rules.
It's not that I'm swearing
no,
prove a point. It's just I'm just trying to speak as naturally as possible.
How you are.
Yeah.
It's natural for me. Like I was raised around sailors almost, it seems, but it flows out sometimes. But I like that, and I feel that like, it keeps coming back to being like appealing to certain people. Like I know the people that I'm friends with, and I know that I know what appeals to them, and I just feel like that I could send your video to anyone really, and they will get something out of it. Whereas, like, I'm not saying Rick Seaback's videos won't do that, but I also feel that there's more of like a PG, kind of like a.
Yeah, and that may be because he was working within the constraints of
and
the FCC.
That's understandable. Do you think that there's some sort of like comparison though? I mean,
between Rick Seaback and myself?
Yeah. Do you ever get any feedback or anything about that?
I mean, probably the most like common comment, or one of the most common comments, is certainly, you're like the young Rick Seaback. You're like the hipster Rick Seaback. I've gotten...
and I don't mean to like bring that on you.
Oh, no, of course. Are you kidding me? I wear that as a badge of honor. If somebody wants to compare me to Fred Rogers or Rick Seaback, like that is a badge of honor for sure.
But even in your like untethered way of doing your videos, you still have that feel of that childhood nostalgic hold into it. I don't know how to describe it.
I think I would imagine. I mean, I need to watch. I need to study up on Rick's work. But I think we're both documentarians.
You both love the place you live.
Yeah, have a love of filmmaking, have a love of storytelling, have a love of Pittsburgh. So there's going to be a lot of overlap there naturally.
Yeah.
And it's a little, I don't know. Everyone's like, "Oh, have you guys gotten together yet? Are you guys going to do something together?" And I have no idea what a collaboration would look like. I don't even know if I would like the guy. I'm assuming I would.
I don't know if a person could dislike him. I've never met anyone that was more charming and just fun to just sit there and just let knowledge just hit you in the face. Like he was fantastic. Well, the first time I ever met him, first time I ever talked to him, never knew of a lot of the things he did. I just knew that his name held weight.
Yeah. And
me researching him, I was just like, God, this guy just like, I just wanted to hug him. You know what I mean? Like he just seemed like a bear, like an imaginary friend in like a Disney movie that like has all the answers. You know what I mean? I don't know.
But no, I would love to meet him, work with him,
We're gonna get that
Whatever.
taken care of.
Yeah.
We're gonna get that taken care of. But I was just curious if you if you had any if you were a fan of his work from a long time, or if you had any of his work in your mind for years in the past, because some people have been watching him since they were very, very young.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them, but I was just curious. I figured because a lot of the listener questions were like, ask him about Rick Seaback, ask him about if he ever if he watched anything, and I mean I know that people were talking about it.
Yeah. Do you have a certain piece of his that you would recommend? Or what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite Rick Seaback piece?
He did Kennywood Memories.
Yeah, the Kennywood, a lot of people talk about the Kennywood.
That was my first experience of him. We watched that in school, and that voice. That voice is so soothing, and it's just that's what I don't know. It's just that's what I think of whenever I think of him. And I would say start there. Then you got the Diners. That's on YouTube. And then my most recent of his work that I watched was 7 Weeks in McGee. And
wow.
Rick was carrying a old case of Pellegrino down some steps and stepped off a step, and he broke he ripped a tendon off or something. So he was just in this hospital for 7 weeks. But in this 7 weeks, it's just him filming all these wonderful people coming in to visit him.
See, now that is
it's fantastic. Brilliant. It really is fantastic.
To turn that experience into a film, because
it's incredible.
Oh my God! Otherwise, you would go. He must have been going crazy. Oh, I love that. I love that so much.
Did you know that there was an organic garden at McGee?
I did not.
Neither did I. There's just parts of him in his wheelchair wheeling down, just grabbing herbs and everything to doctor up his hospital food. And
I love that. One of my biggest fears is a serious injury that would prevent me from running around like I do.
I would suggest watching that.
All right, I'm gonna. That's a good 7 weeks in McGee.
Yeah, 7 weeks in McGee. It's
absolutely. Well,
it's a half hour. Tonight. It's great, but it's. I figured I wanted to ask about that though. Now, as far as we're gonna start wrapping this up here because I don't want to beat everyone over the head with a 3 hour long conversation. But the last thing I wanted to know, as far as your process of filming, is whenever you started making these videos and you started editing them, how do you know, you obviously have a storyline. Do you have an idea of that in the beginning, or do you create that as you get the information and the content that you find?
The storylines are tough because the common narrative is gentrification, and I don't want to just tell that story 90 times.
Yeah.
So the storyline very much, they're not honestly the story arc of the episodes is, I think, a pain point for me and a weak spot in the overall series. They are definitely still, I think, watchable and digestible.
Yeah.
But I think I could do a better job of crafting story arcs with each episode. I don't always get what I need to do that. And also not every neighborhood necessarily has such an obvious arc.
Yeah.
You can pretty much talk about gentrification in any Pittsburgh neighborhood.
Absolutely.
So that's a common thread that keeps coming up. The story is very much created along the way. I almost never go in with any
I feel like it would have to be, you know what I mean? Because you don't know what you're going to get.
I mean, there are the neighborhoods that I have closer relationships to, I kind of have a better idea of what the video might look like. When I do South Oakland, I kind of make sense. I know what's going on in South Oakland. I lived there for a few years.
Yeah.
Same with the neighborhoods that are closer to city center. And some episodes don't really have stories per se.
Yeah.
They're more so like little peeks into, you're peeking through the window and seeing what's going on there, but it's not necessarily like a beginning, middle leading to a crescendo. And then
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
It does. What about the pressure of releasing something every week? Because I've backed myself into a corner because I have not skipped a week. The only weeks that I've skipped with this podcast in over 100 weeks is like the holiday week.
Yeah.
And I get a crazy anxiety. Like if an interview is not going to happen, like
if I'm like, hey, never mind.
Yeah, like
You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, like it gives me a burning anxiety to the point where like, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? I need to have something to put out.
Yeah.
Do you get that feeling?
I mean, definitely, but I think it's manageable. I think like not certain mental illnesses are not manageable on your own.
Yeah.
At the moment, the pressure that I feel to get something out is pretty manageable. I definitely feel it more so towards the end of the week, especially if I haven't like done my due diligence on Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah. Because you drop these Sundays?
Yeah, I drop them. I say Saturday.
Yeah.
Because the idea is that I'll release it on Saturday and then I have one day off. On a Sunday, I can just not pick up a camera or not edit. And that's never the case. Or it's not that that's never the case, but lately I've been like not doing a great job of getting those out. And essentially, instead of pulling all-nighters on Fridays or all-nighters on Saturday nights, I've been sleeping and then working Sunday mornings to finish them up. The pressure probably builds. Yeah, like Monday, I'm like, pretty chill dude, just kind of hanging out. Like, I'll just go to the coffee shop, send some emails.
Yeah.
Tuesday, might get a bite to eat. Wednesday, I work at a climbing gym. Thursday rolls around and it's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I have nothing. Or it's like, wow, I crushed it on Monday and Tuesday. Let me keep going. And then Fridays and Saturdays I work like,
nonstop
12 to 14 hour days.
Yeah.
It's just like I have to. Like it's like, okay, I have to. I've got all these shots I need to still get and I need to get going on the edit. So my Friday, on Friday evening when everyone's like, all right, woo, we did it. I'm like, oh God, here it comes.
Yeah. Are you one that, do you have to be in the mood to work, or are you easily motivated to work, or is it someone like under the gun? Because I'm a work under the gun type of guy.
Yeah, me too, but I'm trying with every ounce of my body to get away from that. And
hardest thing ever.
Yeah, I think there's like the idea of what is it? Motivation, inspiration, action. No, sorry. Inspiration, motivation, action triangle. I don't know I don't know what self-help book I'm getting this out of.
Yeah.
But the idea is that like it's kind of this cycle. You picture the recycling logo.
Yep.
And you've got action at the top, you've got inspiration in the bottom right, and you've got motivation in the bottom left. And it logically follows that you get inspired and then you're motivated to take action.
Yeah.
But this idea is that you can jump on board anywhere.
Yeah, at either
so
place.
If you take action, even if you're not motivated, you will eventually be inspired by something, which was the case today. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to film Polish Hill. And then my friend who was with me was like, oh, he kind of coaxed me out of the coffee shop. And we met this guy who took us into his house, and he has this crazy home that he built with his wife, and they're art professors at CMU. And
wow.
It was just this totally random interaction. And I was like completely inspired and then motivated to, so it,
wow.
I do think that's the case. And so I've been practicing working when I don't want to. And also a point that my mother stressed to me was that sometimes as an artist, you're feeling it and you're in the groove, you're whatever, you're working on a song and you're just like, oh, this is the tits. This is going to be a hit. And sometimes you're working and you're like, this shit sucks. Why would anyone listen to this? Why would anyone watch this video?
Absolutely.
And my mom very accurately told me no one can tell the difference. Even later on in life, you can't tell the difference of your work when you're feeling it and your work when you're not feeling it.
Yeah.
The quality, it's not like when you're feeling it, you're actually making better work.
Yeah, that's true.
So I can be pissy all day, and if I still get some interviews, I go back and watch those, and they're no worse than the interviews when I was like on cloud nine. So I don't, and also I think to tie this back to athletics, I think the sign of a truly great athlete
Never being
is somebody
set.
that performs on their off days.
Yeah.
I went to some college basketball game. It was a tournament game that that they were hosting at, not the Pete, at Console. Well, now what is it?
PPG, whatever.
Paints. And I'm totally blanking on the guy's name, but there was a stud point guard playing, and I was watching him play, and you could tell he was having an off game.
Yeah.
Just missing shots, turnovers, just playing like piss. And at the end of the game, he had 32 points. I was like, whoa. That is the sign of a great athlete, when you can show up on a bad day and still perform. So, if I can show up on a day where I'm not feeling it, and my camera's busted, and it's cold as shit, and I can just do the thing, I think I'll be fine in my career moving forward.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wow, you're an interesting guy.
All right.
You are.
I'll take it.
You're very interesting. All right. I think that I was trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to touch on before we get to the ending segment.
Okay. I'm also curious to hear some of the questions people
Oh, yeah, that's what we're getting
asked.
into. You're not off the hook
Okay.
yet.
Cool.
Yeah, we're diving into
Okay,
it.
that is the ending segment.
Yeah, well, actually, no. The ending segment that I do with all my guests is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions.
Ah.
So we're going to do that, and then I'll throw in the rest of these listener questions
Okay.
because they are very, very good. So I do an ending segment with all my guests called Desert Island Questions. Desert Island Questions is where I give each of my guests 3 categories to take with them on a desert island to exhaust until their expiration. So for the first category is things to watch. You get 3 choices. It could be movies, TVs, anything.
Okay. So I guess That Thing You Do.
Oh, so good. The Wolfman?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Not so
That's my
many-
number one favorite movie. It's been my favorite movie since I was 2 years old.
It ain't a bad movie, I'll tell you
Yeah.
that.
Oh man, see now I'm torn between School of Rock, SpongeBob, and The Office.
Oh my God. Listen, I love School Rock and The Office.
Yeah.
SpongeBob, I'm whatever on it.
Yeah. I would probably say, oh man, how can you cut out SpongeBob though? I think SpongeBob's one of the greatest cartoons
It
of all
is.
time. I might have to say I'll go with School of Rock and The Office. So That Thing You Do, School of Rock, and The Office.
I would take those for sure. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic choice.
Yeah, I love School of Rock.
Let's rock today.
Today.
I know
Yeah.
all about it. I love it. Jack Black's the fucking man.
I got to meet Richard Linklater.
Really?
He's like obsessed with Pittsburgh. He loves filming movies in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
He did Last Flag Flying here, and he did Where'd You Go Bernadette here in the past couple years.
Wow.
And I think he might have done a third one in Pittsburgh, but yeah, I shook his hand. I was like, oh, I'm upset. I love School of Rock. Like it's one of my favorite movies. I love Boyhood as well. He did Boyhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are good choices.
Yeah.
All right. Second category. Do you read?
Yeah.
3 books
Okay.
to take.
Shantaram.
Don't know what that is.
It is a story about, it's this guy's life story. It's a true story, although you do wonder if he's embellishing or making stuff up along the way because it's just too crazy to believe.
Yeah.
He's an Australian guy. He's a drug addict, commits some armed robberies. I think he gets sentenced to 19 years in prison in Australia. And he escapes over the front wall with an extension cord. And he flees to Mumbai, India.
Wow.
and he just lives out this. Well, I'm not sure if he might get recaptured. I'm not sure if I don't know what happens. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. It's a big one. It's about 1,000 pages. And so
Okay.
it's a honker, but I'm obsessed with it. And so it's just about his adventures in India. And so
like
far
that.
so good. Let's see. Holes is one of my favorite books.
That's good.
And then maybe this book called The Artist's Way, which sounds cheesy, and it is often cheesy. It's a self-help. No, I wouldn't want to call it a self-help book. It's a book to help you become creatively unstuck in any creative pursuit, or just to live a more creative life.
That sounds interesting.
So I suppose if I was on a desert island, it wouldn't really come in handy, but it does make me happy whenever I'm reading it or whenever I'm feeling
That's all right.
down.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Okay. Third category, 3 things to listen to.
Yeah. So albums.
If you would like to get that selective,
Okay.
I would love to. I would love to hear them.
Comfort Eagle by Cake.
Okay.
Permission to Land by The Darkness.
Wow.
And a third album. Let me think. Think Tank by Blur.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are
So
good choices.
The Darkness is like this crazy. Do you know the song?
Oh, I know. I believe in a thing called
Okay, yeah,
love.
there you go. That's the one that most people know.
Yeah. I don't know a lot of the other ones, but
Cake is
short skirt, long jacket.
Yep. And
Blur is
so Blur is
what's their hit song?
song 2. Woohoo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Used to be our Penguin Gold song.
Ah.
Did you know
That's
that?
a good fact. I did not.
It did, and then they changed it to Andrew WK.
Oh, is that the party? What is
Yeah.
it? What is it? How does it go?
We want fun, and you better believe it.
Yeah.
And that's it now. But it was Blur, and Blur was the best one.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah,
think
that's
it
better
was
than-
Jet for a second.
Ah.
Woohoo! No,
No.
that's Blur.
Jet is what was their big hit? Now all I can think of is the Blur song. 'cause
I
it's kind
know.
of familiar. Hold on. Wait. Jet.
Jet. It's about a
something. Is it the one about a girl?
yeah. It's a girl. Wanna be your girl. Dun, 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 dun.
There
Yeah,
it
that's
is. There it is. Yeah.
Gonna be your girl.
Yeah. Are you gonna be my
Yeah,
girl?
that's it. I think I want to say that might have been it for about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then they went right to Andrew WK, which I'm not mad at. It's
Yeah.
fantastic to get up and get wild to that. Okay, so the second to last question, well, it's not going to be the second to last for you, but the second to last question normally is a death row meal. So, favorite
Wow.
food, whatever
I
you
would
want
say,
from
like,
wherever.
a big fat plate of spaghetti with garlic bread. We mentioned the root beer float.
Yes.
So probably a root beer float. And for dessert, I'm a pretty plain guy.
That's all right.
Maybe like apple pie with vanilla ice cream.
Ooh. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There you go.
All right. And before we get to the last question, we're going to get into these listener questions.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I was really surprised by how many people have submitted something. So
Right on.
just run down the list, I guess.
Sure.
Okay. The first one was, does your hair intimidate people of the neighborhoods?
I hope not. I don't think so.
Okay. The best Pittsburgh date spot.
Ooh, best Pittsburgh date spot. I mean, it depends who you are.
Yeah, I feel like it was a broad question, but
Hold on.
I feel like the most stereotypical is Mount Washington.
Not Mount Washington.
Yeah, that's not my choice.
Yeah, I mean, if it's summertime, I would say Shenley or Frick.
Yeah, that's a good choice. That's good. I didn't think about that. This one was, how did you learn to film or edit? We already talked about that, right from the gut. How come you didn't talk about drunks beating people in Southside? I felt that. Now, listen, I read that question and I was like, why should I ask that? But then I kind of felt like, Southside, that is a very, very valid part of Southside. And that's probably the part that keeps me out of it the most.
Yeah. One of the guys in the interview was hammered.
Okay.
Was piss drunk.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could tell. He spoke pretty eloquently despite his drunken state. I don't know. I didn't really catch it on camera.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a that was a fair
valid
question. If you were to be named a Pittsburgh superhero, what would you say your superpower was? I don't know what that means, but
I don't know what that means either.
I like it. Shoot metal out of your fingertips, maybe. Ketchup, maybe.
Yeah.
Just throw up ketchup on people like 28 days later.
Yeah.
That turns people into a yinzer.
Thank you for that answer because I had nothing. Yeah. Producing ketchup.
Are you familiar with 28 Days Later? The zombie movie?
28 Days Later. I'm familiar with the concept. I don't think I've seen it.
There's just they turn other people into zombies by like vomiting blood on them. So that's why I thought of ketchup.
If I were to make a narrative film, I think I would probably start with a horror film.
I mean, you should.
They're fun. It's good. I think they're good places for emerging filmmakers to experiment and just do weird shit.
Yeah, you can get as weird as you want.
Yeah.
Look at Ari Aster.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you see Midsummer?
Oh, it's fantastic.
I mean, that's not even, it's a horror film, but it's
probably the most beautiful cinematically beautiful movie I've seen since like The Revenant, maybe. But I loved it. A lot of people said it was like slow and kind of bizarre, but I feel like I'm usually not an A24 fan at all.
Yeah.
Like that Good Time movie with Robert Pattinson.
That was the Safdie brothers who also did Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler.
But it was A24, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Throw it away from me. I couldn't do that.
Did you see Uncut Gems?
I loved it.
Aha. So those are the same two filmmakers.
That's fine, but I thought Good Time was rubbish.
I haven't seen it.
Trash.
But Uncut Gems was like a fucking...
It was wild.
I needed to take a Xanax after that. My heart was pounding the entire
I had very,
movie.
very crazy anxiety watching that.
Yes.
I thought it was fantastic.
It was fantastic. I will never subject myself to that again, though.
Yeah. I probably won't watch it again.
Did you see Parasite?
I have not yet. That's one that I have not
think
yet.
You'll
But
like
I need to watch
it's
that.
phenomenal.
Everyone has been telling me about that. I love watching movies, though. My favorite movie of the year, I think, so far was Peanut Butter Falcon. That was
the first 20 minutes of that, I was like, dang, this movie's not going to do it for me. And then,
oh my god,
I totally fell for it. It's
Yellow Wolf even in there.
Gosh.
Come on, Yellow Wolf.
It's such. I filmed a piece about Keystone State Wrestling Alliance.
Yeah,
and had I not seen Peanut Butter Falcon, what's the full name of the movie? Peanut Butter Falcon? Is it just Peanut Butter Falcon? I don't know. Peanut Butter Falcon gave me an appreciation for wrestling and appreciation for.
Dude.
It's also just it is a beautiful movie.
Beautiful. Shia LaBeouf.
What's Shia LaBeouf and that love story between him? I'm such a sucker for a love story.
Yeah.
She was so beautiful.
Beautiful. And she's beautiful to the point where you're like, that's not like a rich, fake beautiful.
Right.
That is a lady who
very
really is
pure
working in the
beauty.
system. Beauty. Like,
Yes.
I loved it. Okay.
Such a good movie.
Favorite baseball pitch?
Slider.
Slider. Thank you, Jack. What neighborhood is next?
Polish Hill.
Polish Hill. Okay. Do you want to do different neighborhoods as far as different states?
Sure.
I think it would be interesting.
I don't know if it will ever happen, but
Who knows? But
yeah.
I like that answer. What equipment did you start with? T3i.
It's
T3i.
a junky little piece of crap. It was like $200.
So go ahead, buy it on Amazon and get out there
Use
and
your
get
phone.
going. Honestly, right?
Yeah.
My buddy Brian is the most fantastic filmmaker that I know, and he filmed my whole engagement video on his iPhone.
Yeah.
He's just a crazy editor. What's your general approach to photography?
I'm gonna assume they mean photography, like both.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
As a whole.
Put the camera on a tripod. Start there. Put the camera on a tripod.
See what happens. Do you got a secret quarter spot for Aldi in town?
Well, yeah. In which?
I assume they're not talking about Southside. I assume they're talking about a different Aldi.
Yeah. No. The one. I mean, when I was shopping at the one in Garfield, or I guess what is that? Is that Friendship? I don't know. In that area, I was hiding Aldi quarters, but I doubt they're still there. I've been hiding Aldi quarters for years.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question that I forgot to bring up beforehand. Sure. My favorite part of the entire Neighborhood series, but understandable why you took it out, was the bike test.
Yeah.
I loved it because
a lot of people loved it.
It's very interesting, but I also I respect it very much on why you decided to take it out.
Yeah, and I'm always trying to look for new bits, I suppose. I actually thought of one recently. If I would call it like the sugar test or something.
Yeah.
And I could knock on 5 doors and ask for half a cup of sugar. And I could put all the doors on screen at the same time. So you could see 5 simultaneous knocks.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And then 5 simultaneous, could I have a cup of sugar? And then 5 simultaneous responses on screen at the same time.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. But
I'm more so attracted to the idea of just like 5 doors on the screen.
Yeah, look at visually.
Yeah.
But I thought the bike test was cool. I thought it was a cool idea, but I also
it was lame. I was like I felt that I was tempting someone to do something that they probably didn't want to do. I don't think anybody wants to steal a bike necessarily.
Yeah.
But if you're in a position where you have to resort to that, then it's shitty to even for me to come in and be like, I dare you to do it.
Yeah. I do like that though. That's a respectful decision making.
Yeah.
Favorite places for someone visiting Pittsburgh?
I hate this question.
Me too, but it's a good answer. I want to hear your answer.
All right. What is it exactly? Favorite?
It says
places for someone visiting Pittsburgh.
My interpretation is, what are some places that you would tell someone who is traveling to Pittsburgh and visiting?
I would say drop a point on Google Maps and go there. Don't look up anything.
Yeah, don't Yelp anything.
Don't
go to Mount Washington.
Go drop a pin. Yeah. Go to that place. If you're stuck, ask someone.
That's good. What impression do you want your videos to leave?
I suppose I'm trying to encourage people to. Let's see. That's a good question. I want people to feel like the place that they're in, whether that's Pittsburgh or anywhere, is valuable.
I like that. That's good.
Because I think a lot of people are like, this place fucking sucks.
Yeah,
no, it doesn't.
Yeah. I used to be that guy that was like, I'm ready to move out of Pittsburgh and find something new, but I love it here.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a little bit older, there ain't nothing more than I could want. Also,
I think it's so easy to romanticize. My videos are very much a romanticization of the neighborhoods of life. I think it's very easy to look at someone else's life and romanticize it. We do it all the time. We do it every day, especially with social media. But my life is no more exciting or fun than anybody else's.
Yeah, people always think the grass is greener, but it's not. It's all the same.
The guy I met today with the really cool house, I was like, man, can you imagine? And I was like, oh yeah, I can't imagine. It would be just like this.
Yeah.
We're all just sitting inside of our own heads.
Now, this is a good question. What's some of your favorite things about yourself?
Oh wow, that's a funny one. Very reflective.
Yeah. Your whole content is basically highlighting the beauty of other things. What's something that you love about yourself?
I think, and I've heard people say this before, but I think that I can talk to anyone, and I'm sure you probably share that same trait as somebody that hosts a podcast.
That's my favorite trait. Is if I sit down anywhere, I could talk to someone. It doesn't matter if they're old, young, black, white. Doesn't matter. I can find common ground with people. Does it bother you if you get recognized while filming?
It doesn't bother me. It is a little weird. Filming the robots video in Oakland.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it was
Oh, you got recognized a lot? Wow.
Every 5 minutes.
That's wild.
Yeah,
And the
it
second
was yeah.
the second follow up was, would it bother you if someone recognized you if they come up to say hello to you?
No, definitely not. And I that's amazing. And I love that people are coming and saying hello, and it's almost always very positive.
Yeah.
But it's a little scary to know. It's a little weird. It's a little scary to know that like people are watching you or just like aware of your presence, I suppose.
100%.
Yeah, I've had a couple of like strange encounters, but for the most part, it's been like, hey, I really like your work. Like, keep it up. Or like, hey, can we take a selfie? Which is so odd to me.
Yeah, it is. It's strange.
Yeah.
Favorite place you stumbled across when in Pittsburgh?
Do they mean favorite neighborhood or favorite?
I think
physical location.
My interpretation was like
business or
random
something.
place that you even came across where you were just like, never knew this was here. That's awesome.
The shrine in South Oakland.
The shrine
got me.
What is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like at the very end of South Oakland, like approaching the Parkway,
Yeah.
there is a shrine to the Blessed Mother Mary because what happened was, it's a wild story. Some guy was like walking to work or something, or driving to work. I'm totally going to botch the story, but I kind of understand the gist of it. And he saw this glowing light on the side of the hill. And like he was certain of it. I don't know if he saw the image of the Blessed Mother Mary. I'm not religious. I don't know anything about but anyway,
all right.
The next day he like bushwhacked his way back to where he had seen the light. And another woman had bushwhacked her way back to where she had also seen this light.
Jeez.
And there was some spiritual encounter, and a shrine was built because apparently that is a place that Mother Mary has like presented herself or something. So there's a shrine there, and it's like got this beautiful garden around it. And
I never knew that was there.
I had no idea it was there. I was walking around South Oakland with my camera, and I filmed a big segment about it that I just didn't film it. I just didn't do a very good job with it, so I scrapped it. But
wow.
Yeah.
I never knew that was there. I'm going to have to check that out.
yeah, I guess
The shrine
Mother
in
Mary
South
did not
Oakland.
want to be in the Neighborhoods episode.
All right. What is the most challenging part of your work?
Most challenging part is getting over the fear of actually doing it and making decisions, and especially in the edit. Editing is just decision making, and
Okay.
if you're afraid of it, or if you're afraid to wreck something, you're never going to get through it.
All right. If you could collab with any YouTuber, who would it be?
That's an
Casey
easy
knows
one.
that. Come on, Casey knows that.
Or maybe I'll say
Alex Jones. Come on. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll say Apatow, or I didn't even think I would want to collaborate with him because I consider him like so far superior to me that I don't even think I would have anything to offer. But I guess Apatow.
Okay.
APE. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's either Apetor or Apatow. APETOR. I actually don't. Well, yeah, probably him or Casey Neistat, of course.
All right. And the last question that we've got was, do you want to get wings with Chad at Bingham Tavern sometimes?
So definitely, if they do they have a meatless option?
I'm sure they do, but that was a question from Sarah.
All right,
So we're going to have to go up there and grab some food sometime.
there you go.
And then I started a new segment for the podcast. And the new segment is a segment called The Fishbowl. The Fishbowl is a group of questions that have been submitted into the Fishbowl by every single guest that I've had in the past.
Nice.
I asked them, if you could ask anyone a question, what would it be? And I'm going to add that to the Fishbowl, and live on the radio or the podcast in this instant, I'm going to have you pick a question
All right.
and answer it to the best of your
I
ability.
dig this segment.
Oh, it's good. I'm excited. Rick Seaback was the first one. You're the second.
So you been collecting questions?
Oh yeah.
Wait, also does my voice sound weird when I
It sounds good
talk
now.
into the fishbowl?
It sounds like you were in a. It sounds like you're in a tunnel almost. But
right.
it took me it's taken me a long time to get all these people to submit a question.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
By Brian Skagline.
I was ready for to get super
Oh, they're super
philosophical.
There's super wild ones in there.
I believe in a thing called Love by the Darkness.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. The last question that I ask every single one of my guests: if you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh wow, that's good. That's a good question because that's
Fantastic.
what you do.
Imagine the answers that I've gotten in 106 episodes.
I would say my great grandmother.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
That will be interesting. That will be really, really interesting. All right.
How many greats was that? I don't know, a lot.
That's way older
My
than
mom
we could
has
ever
some
be.
photos of like great grandfathers and grandmothers. It's so eerie to look at those things and like
any
see
old
yourself in
photos
this
like that.
person from like the 1740s or whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird.
All right. Dude, thank you very much for sitting down with me and talking.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by your
Thank you.
just depth of questioning.
I appreciate that. I love doing this. I'm very passionate about it.
You got a good thing going.
I was very excited to speak with you because I think that I did not have any weight in what you did. I was very easily able to just turn it off because I don't really like have any ties into Bloomfield, you know what I mean? But I feel like that I'm a typical consumer, and I loved your work. I really did, and I appreciate what you do for the city.
Thank you.
I'm glad you do it. Take a second and please promote your pages where people can find you.
So, I mean, YouTube is where I post all my work. So if you just search Dean Bog, Deanbog.
That's
on
your first
YouTube.
and last name, Dean Bog?
My first and last name is Dean Bogdanovich.
Bogdanovich.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I just chopped the Donovich.
That's
Bogdanovic.
It's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, a couple, like, my cousins and uncles' emails, everybody kind of chops, or like John Bog, Craig Bog. It's just, it's kind of something done in the family because it is a honker of a last name. So I just did it like when I was making accounts, really.
Yeah.
So
Good.
it wasn't like this, my stage name is Dean Bog. It was just like, that's how we made our internet accounts for a long time.
Yeah. And so Dean Bog on YouTube.
Yeah. And
Dean.bog on Instagram.
Yep. I use Instagram sort of.
Yeah.
And then Patreon, if you would so graciously like to support the show and support myself. I need to start posting on Patreon. None of the payments have gone through, so I don't quite feel like I really owe people anything just yet. But I will be posting behind the scenes content, as well as little director commentaries things where I can tell stories about the videos. If you pledge $50 or more, you get a neighborhood sweatshirt. And
What is that, monthly?
Yes, it's a monthly payment. So,
Okay.
And if and the big thing is if you pledge $1 a month, you get to vote on the next neighborhood that I cover.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And also, I try to post updates on there just about like thoughts or whatever's going on. So, Dean Bog on Patreon, Dean Bog on YouTube, Dean.bog on Instagram.
All right. Everyone else that's listening, thank you very much as always. I very thankful to meet cool people like yourself and to be able to provide a outlet for people to learn about interesting people that we have in our city. I'll call you right back across the board for everyone listening. You know where to find me. I'll call you right back on Instagram. I'll call you right back on Facebook. Take a second, if you will. Please subscribe. Leave me a 5-star review. If you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say it. We're trying to work hard here, and I have some very, very big news coming up for February. So leave me some feedback. I'll call you right back at gmail.com. Call me a piece of shit. Just let me know what you like, what you dislike, and I will keep doing what I'm doing. Thanks again, and I'll call you right back.